This is AHMED for IFL-TV in association with MTK Global. For the first time in lockdown, I'm joined by Sonny Edwards. Finally got you on.
Yeah, I know you've been chasing me around a little bit.
A very little bit. Obviously, had your brother on yesterday, who's signed with Frank Warren and has joined the same team.
Yeah.
Just your reaction to that news, Sonny?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's something that's been I've known about for a little while. Do you know what I mean? As long as it's been something. But like Charlie said multiple times yesterday in his interviews, he's seen firsthand how I've been looked after and treated with Frank. I mean, not only that, as in we're very similar weights. He come from a bit of a better amateur background than I have. Do you know what I mean? So we've got things to compare to. Do you know what I mean? So we know how much typically a British super flyweight fight gets paid, etc. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that we can use of each other. Do you know what I mean? So that's one side of things, and also sometimes you just need a refresh. You know, sometimes things get very everything's same, and I think that that became a factor as well, because he had been with Eddie for about 6 years, and they had a great relationship. And that Charlie was the first one to say that and come out and say that Eddie's done so much for him, and he's always been very much saying that. I think there's one quote that they've really tried to sort of drag out, which was Charlie saying he felt he got taken a little bit for granted. But if you actually the full whatever it was, like he goes into and explain what he meant. He just thought that he was still sort of looked at as the same lad that walked in, to the pro game. When really he's 16 fights down the line and he's been a world champion. Like, I don't know, he just felt sometimes boxers, they need to feel love, and I feel like that's a big thing. And this will speak to every boxer, I think, and I think it will speak directly to them. Like, maybe fans won't understand it as much, and they'll be looking. Because I know there's a lot of people question, why the jump, why now, etc., etc. But sometimes boxers need to feel a little love, and I think that's a lot of the case. And like you've seen that with other fighters, doing the the reverse, going from Frank to Matchroom, and you will see it from now on to the end of time. When boxers change, sometimes it's not personal, and sometimes it's not even just business. Sometimes there's that deeper reasons. You know what I mean? There's like what fits your life and why at what certain time. One sec. So, can you see me? Sorry, my battery was going.
No, you're back. Yeah, it's fine. People were asking yesterday, though, the fact that Kalyafai, Estrada, Rungasai have all fought on Matchroom bills recently, all promoted by Matchroom. Why is Charlie making that move? It's going to be more difficult to make them fight, surely. That's what fans are asking.
Yeah, I mean, the exact reason, only Charlie could ever tell you. I mean, I know his thinking, but I only know what he tells me, etc. But Charlie's only ever been into one contract with Eddie Hearn. Do you know what I mean? And that's when he was a world champion. And don't get me wrong, like I said, Eddie's been very good to Charlie. And it's not really like the fact that they like left of each other or parted on bad terms. It's just Charlie had his whole career just sort of going fight by fight, good relationship, was getting opportunities, was happy. Do you know what I mean? He was. Then had the stage in his career where he knows what he's earning this fight, his next fight, he knows when it's roughly going to be. Well, do you know what I mean? Like he had a contract, he had that security, which fighters crave. As a fighter who has a short career, you crave financial security, even fight date security. Do you know what I mean? You crave that. So he went from, having that for the contract when he was world champion to like, there was never like a conversation really like, what's going on? But the contract didn't get offered that to the best of my knowledge, like too forthcoming. So, I mean, there was conversations, etc. They wanted to still work with Charlie. Like Eddie was trying to make the Kalyafai fight very recently. Like, and that's a fight that Charlie still dreams of. But Charlie stalled his career the first time round chasing Cal. He's not going to do it a second time on the hope of getting these big fights. Like, it's all right, all them fighters being there, but there's nothing to say that you're actually going to get those fights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
And last time he stalled his career heavy and was shelved, had 2 8-rounders in a year. That was a year off his career. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot. And I feel like at this stage of Charlie's career, you know, it's like he's been a world champion now. He's moving up weights. He's going to have a comeback fight, and then maybe he's going to be at bantamweight. So he can afford to drop down from, obviously, he's been at world level. He can drop down to like British level, European level, and have a few fights there. Do you know what I mean? He can really do that, and then build that couple of fights. Because he's only 27. He doesn't like. It's like, for me, it's not like how I would look at it is, if you're moving up weight, have a couple of good, meaningful fights that people are interested in the way up to pushing for a big world title. Get yourself in the best position to be there and earn it as well. Because yeah, he's got a good name promotionally, and he could probably get chucked in the deep end right now straight away. Because with his name, you know, like the attention he brings to the flyweight, super flyweight, and maybe now bantamweight division, he can get the opportunities. Like, he's shown that. He had 2 world title fights in, 13, 14 fights? And he never won a European title or anything. Do you know what I mean? He won a British title. So it shows that he can get them. Now, you've done that. You've had 4, like, in a 15, 16 fight career, he's had 4 world title fights.
Sonny, you've been with Frank since day dot. Charlie had been yesterday with Frank for 1 day. He'd already got an interview with Frank. You never did. What's going on?
Nah, I told him to make sure he mentioned that. Nah, because it's good. It's good. Like, you got to remember, when I joined Frank, I joined right at starting point as a good amateur background. Had a couple of fights as a pro. I think I was 3-0, but this was always the plan, really. You know, have a couple of fights with MTK, and then get a good promotional deal. Frank was very, very interested in working with me, and did. But the first year and a half, I was just sort of learning my trade, going through the early fights. Like, Frank didn't sign a world ready fighter. Do you know what I mean? Like he did with my brother, someone that's a former world champion. So obviously, but I think it's gonna be great. And I know, but I think it's gonna be great for us. Like, already they're talking people wanting to see us on the same show, etc. Like, it's a good selling point. And if me and Charlie can start, I don't know, getting, you know how there's like the Daniel Dubois shows, you know how there's the, like, not even really Anthony Yard shows. Like, he's sort of a double act. He's like the supporting act to Daniel Dubois. Do you get me? You know, for these headlines.
I think Yard will have his own shows, definitely.
No, of course, 100%. Of course, 100%. But what I'm saying is they sell quite well as 2 good fights, Yard and Dubois in London Arena. Like, what I'm saying, if me and Charlie could start building up, like, as in, we could be 2 of the main fights on one of these, maybe York Hall, maybe down the future, or big fights with a good card, like something like Copper Box, like, it could do very well for us. You know what I mean? And it's like an extra selling point, extra talking point, us fighting on the same night. And I think, you know, it doesn't seem to happen all too often. And now we've got a chance to make that happen. And, like, obviously it'll be a bit of like a logistical where one will have to go first, one will have to go after, depending on how big the fight is, or one will want to go, you know, like the second TV fight, and then one will want to go the last, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But just so our trainer can be with us the whole time. But yeah, it's exciting because we've only ever fought once on the same show, and that was at amateurs in my 4th or 5th amateur fight. So it's crazy.
Whether you're both going for world titles or defending world titles, who knows? By the time that you're on the same card, that will be something special. I don't think that's ever been done by 2 brothers on the same bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think it's been done. Would you get dressed up in a suit or half a suit if you was doing an interview with Frank? What was that all about?
Well,
I can't imagine you.
It's just Charlie, innit? Like, this is what I'd wear. I think I've worn this to a press conference, what I'm wearing now. And it's a Boohoo Man twin set with shorts. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the difference between me and Charlie.
Huh? What clothing range are you sponsored by?
I was in President's Club for a few fights. But now I'm a free agent, Free agent. Unless you've got any connections.
Not me,
personally. But no, to be fair, a few places like they send me stuff out and that. But I'm just in no massive like rush to try and chase down sponsors at the moment. I feel like there's more important things in there going on. Yeah.
Obviously, Dan Kinnan would have said to Charlie about, you know, moving to Frank, etc., would have advised him on that. But I'm sure, as you've been with Frank for ages, since day dot, he would have been asking you questions about Frank as well.
Of course. I mean, but he's seen it. Like, Charlie would have spun around and seen every negotiation, every opponent offered, every length in between the times I got offered a fight and had the fight. He would have seen how often I was in between camps without having no fight day. Like, he's seen all of this, and he liked what he's seen. Like, I've been looked after very well. Like, I've said it again and again and again, and I think this will just strengthen my position. Like, for me personally, having my brother, former champion, former British champion, like, there beside me on the same platform, because then it's another selling point that BT, Frank Warren, MTK, they can help push. You know, it gets pushed enough, because it don't always happen too often. Like, you know, getting two fighters at a similar level at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It is a USP. It's a unique selling point. So we've still got to get the work in. Nothing changes. We've got to get in the gym, get the work in. And it probably makes it just that little bit more competitive, you know, as mad as that sounds. And Charlie might not think like this at all, but I'm a very competitive person. And never for a second would I ever want him not to do anything or not succeed or not win, but I just want to be the best at everything I do. So every show I've ever been on, it's gone in my head that I want to be the best fighter on that show, like perform the best every single time. Do you understand me, Mar? Every single time, I'll be warming up thinking, I'm going to steal the show tonight. That's why I make a point of trying to do it every time. And I
Yeah,
feel like a couple of times I managed it. And that's not going to change because Charlie's on the card. It's going to make it worse. Because if he's the best on there, that's going to be mental. You know what I mean?
Have you heard anything from Frank Warren about when you could be out here in shows potentially in August for Frank?
You know what? I don't know how much I can actually say, but I was offered a fight mid-July. You know, that's the dates that people are chucking about. When I was offered a date mid-July, a title, an opponent, everything. I said yes to everything, but I said, give me at least the 1st of August. That's what I said personally. And I made it no secret. I did get out of shape, you know, through lockdown. I enjoyed myself.
Did you?
I don't need a massive amount of time. I said from the 1st of August, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So I said that, and then it was like, cool. So for me, that's what I'm looking at. Any time in August. I'm in camp now. My 3rd week of training is well underway. Like, my food's been good. I've already lost about over 4 kilos in about 2 weeks. I mean, I'm flying, to be honest, and I feel quite fit and sharp already, which is surprising.
Well, I guess the opponent you was offered for mid-July would have been British, because I doubt by then that anyone's flying in.
Well, I'm not going to speak too much, but it depends what your definition of British is.
Okay, maybe not British, but he's living here. I don't know.
It might still happen, so I don't want to give it away, because then, you know, because I've said yes to this opponent to defend one of my titles, hopefully attach something else onto it. So obviously that's the title and stuff is all permitting the board whether they let the title fights, because they're not sure yet. They said no initially, but they're not sure, because you know what I mean. So
Will you be fighting for a world title next year, Sonny?
I think so. My management thinks so. My promoter wants me to. I could have a world title fight next time, I believe, if I really wanted to force my hand.
Not wise though, is it?
Maybe not in the sense of maybe because of the lockdown. Maybe not in the sense of I'm not ready. But I know the definite that I know is it makes sense for me career-wise to take another fight before I think about a world title. Let's put it that way. You know, obviously how contracts set up and timing is everything, as cliche as that sounds. But it makes a lot of sense to me to do that. So right now, I just want to finish off or get into the year and finish off the year probably with a win. And then when we get back to normal and we haven't got to worry about not being able to go down to the gyms and whatnot and no crowds, then push for the world title. Because one thing's for sure, I wouldn't have a world title with no fans. No chance. I'm not taking that moment away from myself.
No, I agree. What about the Marcel Braithwaite rematch? Obviously, after the fight, you said that you would give him a rematch, even though you won.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still something that, of course, I would fight him. Like, there's no disrespect to him. I felt, even though he gave me that little, you know, moment of panic, well, I didn't really panic, but, you know, for some people get put down. Like, even though he gave me that, and he had a decent second round, like, I won every other minute of the rest of the fight fairly comfortably without really having to get out of second gear, whilst I had 2 bad hands. Like, people can believe that, they don't have to believe that, but anyone that knows me was around me during the build-up to that fight knew exactly what. You know what I mean? Including people that we have mutuals, you know, your Linden Arthur, Zelfers, you know what I mean? They knew. But I would 100%. I'll fight him anytime. But last time I suggested him put to BT, and BT went. We had him on our last fight night. That fight. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So so that's the main issue. Like I can say yes, that's how I want to fight, but like boxers, obviously we have a say, but we have more of a say of like fighters we don't want to fight. Like we can try and suggest fighters, but when you've just beat them very wide on the scorecard, it's like because they have to pay good purses. You know what I mean? I'm a very well paid super flyweight. It's like so I need to earn my money, and I'm happy to. But like I said to him the whole time, I want to win my British outright. That's the goal. So become mandatory. Simple. No one else is putting in for it, so it should be a very easy task. A very easy task.
All right, Sonny. Well, I'll let you go unless there's anything you want to add.
No, nothing really. I mean, I feel like I was cheated on the FIFA tournament a little bit. I mean,
really? You made out the
there was a
group.
lot of controversy, and I feel like I could use my platform with the owner of the tournament, UMAR, the CEO and the chairman of the tournament, UMAR AHMED. But I mean, apart from Billy Joe using France twice, which was against the rules, it was good fun.
Yeah, I wanted
And I bowed out.
Billy Joe to go through. That's no secret. I'll say on here.
No, Billy Joe, good player from what I played, yeah. But there was just a lot of controversy surrounding it, and Umar, you was a bit, you was making it so Billy had every opportunity to get through.
Yeah,
You're admitting it.
precisely.
Live.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you're honest. I mean, that's better than FIFA, I suppose. Because Seb Blatter used to deny it. Probably why I was in your job a lot longer than you was.
But yeah, it was for a good cause, though, wasn't it? A lot
Did
of money.
anyone win? Who won?
No, one semi-finals left for the finals.
That's
So
what I thought. I thought I was still going.
yeah, still going.
Who's in it still?
Nav, who does Tyson Fury's clothes, Joe Cordina, and someone else. I can't remember. Fella
Joe
from behind the
Cordina's
gloves, I think.
So Cordina beat Momo and then Kid Galad.
Yeah.
Cordina's meant to be a good player. And
Serious player,
they've
yeah.
all, he's meant to be a good player.
All right, Sonny. Thanks for talking to IFL TV. I'm sure we'll catch your word soon. But yeah, look up.
Sure.
All right.
Cheers, Umar, mate.
See you later.